Here we go, it's all about you, it's all about me, it's all about what we do. Making art, you and me, trying to find something to believe. Because I'm running wild, I'm running free. Still got a lot of shit left to say.
Oh, you're here. Oh, okay. I guess that means it's time for another video. Woo woo. So, hi there guys, and welcome back if you're not new, and if you are new, hi, it's Britannia, and this is my channel where you talk, where we, and when I say we, I mean just me, and this is my channel where I talk about mostly movies and film, and TV, but sometimes we talk about some other stuff too. Hi, and this is my channel where I talk about mostly film and TV, and I do critical analyses on my favorite or my hated TV shows or movies. Sometimes we like to sprinkle a little fashion, a little policy in that thing. Respectable names. But today we're going to be talking about reality TV. And when I say reality TV, we're going to be talking about a particularly one TV show in particular, and that's Summer House, Martha's Vineyard.
We're gonna turn what? Summers at Martha's Vineyard are totally lit.
This is not one of my usual scripted videos, so we're just gonna kind of have like a little chit chat about little chit chat. If you don't know, I'm here to tell you that Summer House, Martha's Vineyard is a relatively new reality TV show. It's produced and hosted by Bravo, so they're the production. So they own all the production rights to that TV show, as well as you are able to watch it on Bravo channel, whichever channel that's on. I don't know, I'm 25. I don't watch cable TV anymore. In your country, whatever channel that's on. And if you're like me and you don't watch cable television, then you stream it on Hayu, at least here in the UK. But yeah, Summer House Martha's Vineyard is technically a spin-off reality TV show of the original Summer House. Stay with me here. The original Summer House is a reality TV show built around a group of young-ish friends, so friends in their 30s and 20s, but like a mixed variety. We have some people low 30s, high 30s, low 20s, mid 20s, high 20s. But it's essentially about a group of friends who meet up every weekend in the Hamptons at their summer home, which they usually drive to or commute to from New York after ending their working week. They usually go off every weekend for about like 6 or 8 weeks or something like that, to the summer house, where they share the summer house as a group of friends, and you know, the usual reality TV shenanigans like hooking up and parties. Everyone hosts a party usually throughout the season, and drama ensues. But when you're watching like the original Summer House, although it is a very drama-packed TV show, like a lot of the drama tends to feel very like non-consequential, because by next season, you know, everyone's pretty over everything. A lot of the drama doesn't really hang very heavy. It's not anything like criminal in nature or physically violent usually, or something totally wholly offensive that like someone can just like not recover from. Like when you think about like other reality TV shows like The Housewives, for example, or I guess like if you want something like very extreme, we're talking about like Baddies East or stuff like that. It's not that kind of show. But also in the same tone, I feel like it's not the same kind of show as like even Vanderpump Rules on the same network, where like the toxicity of the group of people is like very escalated. I feel like you don't really get that vibe too much from Summer House, with the exception of like a couple of people. But for the most part, people try to get along. People make active efforts to get along with each other. People are meeting new people. They always have like at least a couple of new friends in the group to mix things up. And yeah, like the show's actually usually pretty fun, and you just kind of get to go along But yeah, the show is pretty fun, and you're mostly kind of going along with like relationship type drama than too big of like interpersonal drama amongst the group. And so Summer House Martha's Vineyard is the spin-off of that show, but instead of the predominantly white cast which makes up Summer House, they decided to make this show a predominantly black cast. And the location, Martha's Vineyard instead of the Hamptons, is supposed to be more rooted in black culture because Martha's Vineyard is like a famous vacation spot for affluent black Americans in the United States of America. African Americans, that was an area which African Americans were for the first time able to own private land and other such memorable and historical aspects of black culture that made it very significant to the show and for why they'd want to set that location as a background for a reality show that seems to be focusing on a lot of like young black professionals. The age ranges, I think most people are in their early 30s, and then maybe you had, I think if anybody was in their late 20s, that it would have been very late 20s, but majority of people, they were like their pretty early 30s is the average age of the cast. But yeah, just a couple of you, I think spring chickens still in their 20s in order to like young up the casting. But even though they are 30, like they're not the kind of 30-year-olds who, you know, only stay indoors. People are still, the cast is very vibrant, they're very youth, like they party, they try to go out, they're like very like boisterous people. And I really did enjoy like watching the show. I watched all of season 1 when it came out, and I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I was looking so forward to season 2. But the reason why I'm even making this video is not just to talk about this TV show, which I do really quite like, and even now I've been like rewatching the 2 seasons that I've been rewatching them quite a lot. Even though that literally season 2 just came out and there's only 2 seasons, I've been rewatching it. But the sad thing about it is that, you know, actually the show is now on a hiatus. It's been suspended due to, you know, lower ratings than the network would have wanted from the second season's premiere. It wasn't what the Netflix was looking for in terms of ratings progressions. And to be fair, the ratings were not as favorable as they were the first season around. But I really think that there were a lot of aspects that kind of messed with that. And we're going to try to talk a little bit about it. But like I said, none of this is scripted or coordinated, so we're just going to go with the flow. But yeah, so like they suspended the TV show after only 2 seasons because they didn't have enough ratings. Is one of the reasons why like the network reportedly has suspended it, and like they're thinking of new things to kind of turn it around. And there's words and rumors that they actually will pick it up. Like I said, it's suspended and not canceled, so it is supposed to be just a hiatus. But if you look at other shows on the network, for example, like The Real Housewives of Miami, like that hiatus was like a decade. So it really could be anything for the show. It could mean anything for the show, but hopefully the network is working to get it back on. There were rumors about like new casting right before the news about the suspension hit publications or Twitter. I guess formerly Twitter, now known as X, but nobody's calling it that. Elon Musk, that was foolish. But yeah, like I said, the first season, I think solid season. Really good show. Like, what I really loved about the show is that I really felt like I've been feeling for a bit of time now that it doesn't feel like there is much out there now for the age group of people who are like no longer in high school, like that kind of like middle age between, you know, being like a proper adult, you know, like maybe like let's say 32 for example. I feel like 32, 35-ish is like probably the area which most adults start to feel more like concrete in their life. They've most likely been in one particular career field for at least a bit of time, been able to kind of like build a life and consistently live within that lifestyle for at least a bit of time, versus kind of like kids or high schoolers who are constantly kind of going through like a social change with their bodies continuously growing and changing and adapting and evolving with puberty and all these things. You know, when you're a little human, a lot of things are very relative when it comes to your life experiences from, you know, baby to, let's say, like just becoming an adult, like 18 or 18 to 20. Like, you have so little life experience, yet you will think it's so much because you only live so long, versus someone who's like lived through a bit of life at their 30s and understands how long like 10 years really does feel. You know, before your formative years, everything's really a blur and you're not going to remember a lot of it. But yeah, like, it was great. The point is, I was happy to see Black young professionals on TV. I've been feeling like there's not a lot of shows where I see like Black young professionals. It feels like everything is either in high school or centered around more mature adults. But I feel like for people after uni, while you're exploring like the first stages of your career, maybe you're going through a career change, all these things that you would experience, you know, once you're done with your studies as a young person and you're taking your steps towards long-term working. When I say long-term working, I mean like, you know, working without breaks, just working for the rest of your life. Working. But yeah, and I felt like for a while that I haven't been able to kind of like consume that kind of content. I feel like it's already hard enough to find content, particularly when it comes to Black women being at the center of the story, so I can get to know a Black woman's story, especially like young Black women. I think it's becoming increasingly more difficult to even see things centering a group of Black people, because, you know, networks such as BET aren't really what they used to. It seems all Black casting or networks or production companies making is becoming like scarcer and scarcer, an already scarce world. So like when Summer House Martha's Vineyard popped up, it felt so refreshing, and it actually did feel like they tried to have like a bit of a diverse cast of Black people, because we're not all a monolith, of course. For example, like we had characters like Preston.
Now y'all know when you put a bunch of grown people in a shared rental house over the summer, there's gonna be some drama.
Who was queer, he's a gay man, who also is in a non-monogamous relationship, has also gotten married since like the last 2 seasons, who's also a lawyer, who's also an activist. And then you have characters like Jordan.
Okay, go on the plane.
Who used to be a Playboy bunny. Actually, this group of girls met as Playboy bunnies.
Proud Playboy Club bunny. And there I met Jordan and Shanice and Bria. And honestly, Shanice and Jordan and I hit it off.
Which must be such a fun and interesting thing to explain on your CV. But Jordan also models and comes from a background of having lost a parent at a young age and feeling like she had to mature early and take care of her family, which is not an uncommon story in the Black household. People like Jasmine and Silas, who seem more like kind of like, you know, traditional and average and stuff, are like, of course they do have very differing careers that are also of interest. Like Jasmine's a screenwriter. That's such an interesting career. Like, how many stories have we seen told about like Black writers? There's so many characters, and it was an interesting cast, and I was just so happy to see like kind of like a dichotomy of Black people come together just to have fun. Like, I just want to see more Black joy on TV. I feel like I want to see more spaces in like fat Black faces, or even the faces of people of color, more and more and more. I want more fantasy. I want more enjoyment and just like passive TV. Like, there needs to be more POC content that doesn't have to involve around like, I don't know, a supernatural battle or something. I don't want to see my people battling all the time. Sometimes I want to see us sipping wine and talking about real life, like slice of life problems with their friends. I want more slice of life content. Can you please bring that back? But yeah, that's just how I feel. I think because, you know, I myself am a young Black professional. I'm in my mid-20s. I'm starting to like put into place a lot of plans when it comes to my career. You know, I'm trying to reach that top shelf of where I see my life going, or I see my professional life going, and how I want to blend that in with my personal life, and what that means for my personal life, how I want to, I guess, curate a life for myself. So it's kind of nice to see other people doing it, or people who at least recently gone through that kind of, those kind of things, and like try to figure themselves out. And I felt like I did just love watching a group of people like that interact and engage, and just to like learn new faces in that space as well. I just want to be able to have something which doesn't end 2 seasons in, where I can follow one set of characters that I actually do like in a format, in the storytelling that I do like consistently. And just be able to just like follow those people's story into a natural progression. But yeah, another thing I kind of wanted to try and scoop all up into this conversation is like the scrutiny, I feel like, or like the dichotomy, or the nuance of being Black and being Black under the spotlight. And for example, I do think one of the reasons which makes the Black Summer House, so Summer House Martha's Vineyard, so different from the original Summer House, and which has become like a topic of discourse since the suspension, is that it feels a lot of the times like with the Black Summer House, there are a lot of more expectations on the show and on all the cast members than there is with the regular Summer House. I'm going to explain that. One of the first things that I want to bring up is kind of like the concept of Black excellence. And we're going to take it over to editing Tanya to explain that concept in the quickest way I could possibly do, so this is not too long. Hey! Is that you? Are you back? Okay, you ready? Okay. Alright. So yeah, well, with the notion of Black excellence, of course there's a lot of positivities that, you know, it is a notion of motivating the community of Black people to push past our circumstances in order to, you know, equalize ourselves in society, you know, get a bit of equity, and have us stand on the foundation of some wealth in order to protect ourselves from the woes and evils of capitalist society, and to get back those resources, and to get back those resources which were once stolen from us. However, I do think something we need to come to grip with as a community is one that, like, there are a lot of Black people who are very, very, very conservative. And Black excellence does have a lot of capitalistic and conservative undertones. Also, I think there is something very damaging about pushing a narrative that really depends on capitalism. As I said, you know, that has capitalistic undertones and implications, but as well as to kind of like force this one expectation on all Black people for us to have to financially achieve, or to achieve success, whether financially, educationally, of those other traditional metrics, in order for us to have to prove a point, almost in a way, to prove that we are not what they said we were when they called us savages, when they enslaved us, and when they caused a race of people that much harm for hundreds of years. And to that point, there is an unfairness of having, you know, these incredibly high expectations on Black people as a monolith, and especially considering the fact that all Black people do not submit under capitalism, or do not believe in capitalism as a working way of governing society, do not want to contribute to the capitalist hellscape that we live in. Some Black people are also neurospicy, some Black people are queer, and a lot of the times those people, they feel othered for other reasons, and therefore they will never really feel like they fit into that black excellence category, which paints a very particular picture of who you think that person is. When you say black excellence, who comes to your mind? You know, sometimes a lot of those people, they're pushed out of that. They're not included in that, and that is harmful as well. It can become very toxic rhetoric. And I think, and I love how one of the cast members in the show, Preston, comments on that as well within the show. But I feel like in watching the show, you can see that the cast members don't feel as comfortable as, let's say, the Summer House cast members do, to like totally let loose, to totally show us like everything, to bear it all. Like in black communities and spaces and society, of course, again, we're not all a monolith, but from my personal experience and from what I can understand about black African Americans or black people who live in the United States, is that because, as I said, a lot of black people can be quite conservative because of colonialism and the church, we can also be quite judgy upon our own members of our own community if we do not behave in a way in which we deem to be good representation or acceptable as our community. Because no matter when it is, when you're a black person, it feels like you constantly have to perform to a standard, that kind of like black excellence standard. And if you can't achieve black excellence, you must not embarrass the community by showing your bottom on TV and doing certain things like showing skin, maybe, for example, would be considered not, kosher, not gosh for TV as a black person to do. You know, you often sometimes hear these sentiments from people of color of, oh, he's one of the bad ones, that, oh, like, people like you is why racists will think this and that. Like, that is a rhetoric that is pushed, and that responsibility shouldn't be burdened upon POC or black people or anybody who's gone through, like, those traumatic experiences. It shouldn't be pushed on the victim. But a lot of the times that is the case. And it just feels like with the Summer House cast, they don't have a lot of room to navigate in, to figure things out. And I think that did feed in a little bit to a lot of the criticism that the show did receive in season 2. But yeah, I think it is a bit unfair that they have to perform to like such this grandiose standard and try to have to please so many people and in a way be fun but still keep it classy. Like, it's so difficult. I just wish they would I wish they would just have the ability to just have fun, be fun, and let loose. And it's funny as well because another one of the criticism was that this season felt like it wasn't as fun as season 1. It wasn't as carefree. It wasn't as carefree. It wasn't as it wasn't as jovial and like slice of life. But at the same time, some of those things people complained about didn't feel joyful. Was just like those people actually just going through real life. And that is a little bit of a point of reality TV. I know we're in a weird space where a lot of things are depressing in the real world, so people want that escapism, they want that fantasy, and that's why I want content like this as well. But in having content like that, I do actually want to get to know the cast members to a certain degree and get a little, sneak behind their lives and what is it like to be who they are and live the life that they live. So in that, I also need to know about the bad parts, the trauma, the things they're going through that's not so squeaky clean in their life, that's not, that doesn't have their life on a pedestal. Now, all of that is a part of that, in my opinion. That's what I want to see. Fine if you don't. But yeah, I just wanted to have a bit of a rant and a ramble with you guys about a show that I really, really wish was just still on air, because I feel like there's actually so much juice and drama that's actually going on right now since they decided not to continue filming. And if they would have just carried on into this season, I think they would have had a slamming season. You have to give things especially reality TV. Scripted TV is different from reality TV. With reality TV, it needs room to like build its own character and personality. It needs that time to like figure out the funks, especially for people who've literally never been on TV before, especially not reality TV. If you want to know any of like the really juicy behind the scenes drama, because all the girls are fighting, and there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that have come out since. I'll leave some channels that I really enjoyed watching that covers the show down in the description below, or I'll put some pictures here for you guys to search. I hope you enjoyed this more casual video with me, and until next time, bye!